good evening. So, my idea for tonight's vlog, I'm not sure if any of you have been to Argyll before, Argyll and Bute, but there are lots and lots of valleys, and now depending on where the sun is, that creates different effects. So my idea for tonight's vlog is to create depth by using shadows in valleys and light. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed it works. So I've got my first shot all set up, and this is what it's looking like through the back of my camera. I'm just going to flick to video mode, and then I'm going to adjust my ISO. Now bearing in mind I'm still struggling how to get rid of the cinematic bars, and the sun has just come back out, but I'll show you what I'm looking at. So I've got these trees here, this tree here, and they're helping guide through. Now on either side of the valley, so I've got these lovely mountains coming down, and then I've got that focal point of that mountain right at the very end, and it's looking great. But what I'm really needing is some dappled light, so I need a big cloud to come across and sort of cover up the sun to help emphasize on the depth, and to create them shadows to help guide your eye through this valley. The valley itself, absolutely stunning, but as soon as I get that big cloud that comes across, this scene is going to turn from a beautiful scene into something really spectacular. Now, just a waiting game. So that cloud has decided to skim past the sun, which is not what I was hoping for. So yeah, just a little bit longer I'm going to have to wait, but fingers crossed. When I do get a cloud that comes across the sun, this shot is going to come alive. So here we are, the light is just about to be covered, well, diffused by a big cloud. So I can finally get this image, and it's going to come to life. It really is, because it's perfect right now. The mountain in the distance is lit up, and the valley is starting to be shrouded in cloud, well, shade by the cloud, and this is where it's going to come. So you'll see my face go into darkness, and that'll be roughly when I capture this image, and it's looking absolutely perfect. I think just about 5 more seconds, because I am sick of blinding myself by looking at how far away this cloud is. There we are, it's starting to happen, and look, you see how the darkness is starting to cover my face, and this is where it's going to come into its own. It really is. I just need that cloud to come across a little bit more, any second now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take multiple exposures to make sure that I'm getting all of this detail and nothing is going to be blown out, because one of them will have the right contrast on both sides of the valley, and then one of them will most likely not. So you've got to make sure you get what you need to be got before it's gone. There we go, the cloud has passed, so fingers crossed I've got that image with the light cast shadows on both sides, emphasizing the mountain in the distance to help draw your eye in. That was the aim of this shot. I'll show you it now on screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up a little bit further and shoot another valley further over that hopefully won't be facing into the sun. Well, it shouldn't be, faces that way. Anyway, time to move on. So for this composition I'm actually going to use light in a completely different manner. At the end of this valley there's light on a mountain. Everything else is shrouded in shadow. It's in the shade of the sun. So it's going to help draw your eye through the scene and into that light at the background. So again, creating that depth by using light. That's the plan. I haven't gone for any filters in this apart from my polarizer on the front to try and cut a little bit of the glare off the water. For the focusing of this scene, all I'm doing is I'm going into that light and I'm sharpening it on that light. Now, that light is changing, it is fickle. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so good. And a bloody great big lorry has just decided to park in a lay-by right in my shot. But I reckon with a little bit of Photoshop, I'll be able to get him out. The settings are super simple for this composition, as simple as the scene. Hopefully, simple is going to be beautiful with this. Less is more. So something to be really aware of, especially when you're doing images where you're using light like this, is that none of your highlights are blown out. So make sure you are checking your histogram regularly. And even if the live histogram says that it's not blown out, make sure you check it after the image is taken, because sometimes the histogram can be slightly different from the taken image to the image that you're about to take. But I'm pretty happy with this composition. It is simple. There's not a lot going on, but I'm using that light to draw your eye through to the back of the image, and that's the whole point of this vlog, creating depth by using light. Right, on to the next location, I think. So for this scene, I've chosen it particularly because it has a little bit of heather. Now the heather's not in the best of bloom, but I don't think that makes too much of a difference. But I've got the biggest contrast between highlights and shadows that really draw your eye through the valley and into that final scene. And I'm going to show you on the back of my camera. But for this composition, what I've done is I've got this little bunch of flowers here, and then I'll focus stack through here, take another focus over here, but my focal point is this mountain in the distance at the back. Now it would be nice if there were some clouds in the sky, but that's why I've chopped out the majority of the sky, because there is no clouds, so there's not really much point of having it in there. But I've got this beautiful band of light arcing round and then up into here, and I'm hoping this shadow here and this shadow on this mountain helps draw your eye round into this peak over here. With a little bit of focus stacking and some Photoshop, I think this will end up being a really nice image. So I've just finished my exposures there and I'm pretty happy with them. There was one thing I did do, is I kind of bracketed the heather in the foreground. Now I know I'm playing with highlights and shadows and trying to create depth with light, but also if I've got that foreground interest but it's in the shade and just darkness, I don't think that's going to work too much. So I did bracket and I exposed for the heather in the foreground especially, just so it wasn't just lost in the darkness. I don't want it to be overpowering and I don't want it to be too bright, so I will make sure it's not in your face brightness, but I did want it to be a part of the image. But I'm pretty happy with the results and I think I'm doing all right today. Now to come out and get this contrast between the highlights, you probably want to come out about 2 hours before it gets to sunset, which also gives you the opportunity of finding a location to get sunset, which is a bonus, because sometimes you never really know where you're going to go. But I'm going to head a little bit further down into the valley and go see if I can find something a bit down there. But I think tonight's going to be going pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the results. So I think I found my final composition. The light is not on the subject yet, but when it does come, oh my god, this is going to be incredible. Right, I'm going to show this through the back of the camera. So this is what I'm looking at through the back of my camera. I have focused in on the light, well, this mountain here. This is the pinnacle that I'm hoping that's going to light up. If I get that, I'm going to be a very happy man. This light over here though, that can go away, that will get taken out. But I've got this beautiful little house down here in the foreground, and that is absolutely stunning. Bearing in mind, I will have slightly more sky this way, and I will have more land that way. But I found this really cool stream guiding your eye down into this hut, and then that's parallel with the mountain up here. And yeah, this is going to be my final shot of the day. Really happy with it. So there we are, that is the scene through the back of my camera. What do you think? I think it looks pretty strong. It is such a shame that I still don't know how to get rid of them bars on either side. I don't know why, but I really can't work it out. But anyway, what I love about this scene is that little house really gives the mountain scale, and I'm just going to wait until that light hits that mountain, and if it does, when it does, oh, it's going to be something pretty special. But while I'm waiting for that light to happen, here's a time lapse. So I raced and raced and raced. I got that last shot, but I had a feeling the first composition that I tried to get would be really coming out right now. And I was right. It was worth coming back and racing back up the hill to capture this. I'm gonna flip it into video mode so you can see what the back of my camera is seeing. And wow, is it special. So there we are, we're on the back of the camera. So what I've got is I've got this tree here, this tree here. I'm going to have to up my exposure a little bit so you can see the composition, because obviously I'm shooting into quite harsh light. So trying to get a balance between that harsh light and the scene without, while on video, is a little bit difficult. So I've got this lush grass meadow coming through here, golden with the light that we have at the moment. I've got this tree on this side and this tree on this side. That tree on this side is all the way out of the frame, but due to my inability to turn that setting off, you can't see it. I've centralized the hill in the center right here, and at the moment that is getting a beautiful side light. Looks absolutely fantastic, and there are some beautiful clouds just above capturing that evening light. Now I'm going to drop down the exposure so you can see the sky. Look at that. That is what we're looking at, them beautiful wisps. Now I probably will crop it down to about there, because that section is pretty blank, pretty boring and not needed. I've gone for a 5 bracket on this one, so I get all that information in between the highlights and them shadows, so I can blend it together more efficiently, just because there is so much harsh light. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to stay here and then see what the sky does, because if the sky lights up and I've got that light sideways, it is going to be one beautiful shot. So I will see you when that happens. So I've just looked through my images and I'm really happy with what I've got. So I think I'm probably going to finish my vlog here. What I want you guys to take away from this is, if you are in a situation where there is valleys like I've got in Argyll, is wait for that light to be on the subject at the end, because it's really going to help emphasize that focal point and draw the viewer's eyes through your image. And that's what you want to do at the end of the day. You want them to be drawn through the image to the end, so that it's almost like they can take them footsteps and walk through your image. But other than that, have a lovely weekend, and if you feel the need, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to hit that subscribe button, feel free. Welcome to the party. There is going to be so much more content, and yeah, have a lovely weekend. Peace.